My favorite thing to do in nature is sit and wait, watching for wildlife. To find wildlife, I like to pick spots that are open and you can see 360 degrees around, so your field of vision is pretty clear. I like to just sit in these spots and wait, otherwise the animals will get scared if you approach them. Where I am right now, we typically have pheasants. I've been waiting for about an hour to see one, but it doesn't look like they're gonna come. It might be the wrong season to spot them. But I have been hearing bullfrogs in the creek down there, so I'm gonna go check that out. The sun always rises in the east and then sets in the west. So, if your shadow is facing east, then it is in the PM. If your shadow is facing west, then you're in the AM. This is my favorite spot to come and look for turkeys. For some reason they love congregating on top of hills. I don't know why. Wow, there's a lot of turkey over here. That's pretty neat. Did you know that turkeys can jump about 20 feet in the air? Even though they can't fly, they can still use their wings to jump pretty far. It's kind of scary. Quick time update. Alright, given that the sun is in the west part of the sky, and my shadow looks to be a lot longer than it was at 6 p.m., I'd say it's around 7:15, and it is 7:24. Pretty close. I've spotted 2 white-tailed deer. You can tell because they have white tails. They like to feed on the grass. And people like to have them on their property because they cut the grass naturally as opposed to having to mow all that grass, because there is a lot of grass here. Just 4 weeks ago, this area was burned by a wildfire that consumed nearly 500 acres of land. You can already see that vegetation is starting to grow back slowly. In fact, that's what often happens after wildfires in very burnt areas, is the ash provides the soil a good fertilizer for new plants to grow. And in the distance, you can see a red-tailed hawk. Another thing I like to do in nature is look for invasive species. Cheatgrass is said to be cheating by sticking to your socks, as opposed to other grasses who have to spread their seeds through the wind.
Hi, it's Frizzle. I've been walking around my neighborhood a lot, and I've been realizing that there's a lot of edible plants and foods that we actually buy at the store that are just growing in my neighborhood, and I wanted to show you how you can recognize them wherever you are. So the first one is actually rosemary. I have a large bush in my neighborhood, and you can see that it's very similar to the type that you would buy at home. It grows in this little pattern, right, vertically up, and it grows in a very large bush. It can also grow over the side of other plants, and that's why it's used in a lot of different neighborhoods. Rosemary also has these beautiful purplish blue blossoms, and that's why they're really popular to use in landscaping, because look at how beautiful these flowers are. So not only does rosemary smell amazing and taste delicious in our food, it's also really pretty. So I'm just walking down the street of my suburb in San Diego, and I come across this really beautiful lavender bush. Now some of them have already wilted because it's the end of summer, but you can still see this beautiful purple blossom that's commonly used in fragrances, but can also be used in teas and to add flavor to some other aromatic foods. And I noticed this beautiful hibiscus, which is a flower that's commonly put in teas. It's really has a sweet aroma, and it's both a beautiful blossom and adds a lot of taste. One of the most popular plants that I see in my neighbors' front yards, it's really beautiful, and you'd never guess what it was. It's this beautiful plant with these very sweet little purple flowers. It's actually called society garlic, which means that it is edible. The flower is edible, the stems are edible, the leaves, and it actually tastes a little bit like garlic, which I thought was really fun because garlic is one of my favorite things to put in my food, and it's growing pretty naturally all around the neighborhood. I'm on a fire trail right by my neighborhood, and I want to point out this bush, this plant. It has little yellow flowers. It's actually called fennel. It has a distinctly licorice smell and taste, and it can be used to season salads or other food. You don't necessarily eat the blossoms, you can. What's more common is to forage this part of the plant and pick it off and put this inside of your salad. So you can hear we're really close to the road. I'm right outside the neighborhood, but I'm looking at some plants that are growing just wildly in San Diego, and this is one of them. It's actually wild artichoke. It has a few different names. It's actually a thistle. You can tell because it's got some really sharp leaves that's trying to protect it from predators. But you can eat the leaves and the stem, and also this fruit, the meaty part. Before it blossoms, it looks a lot more like an artichoke. Once it's blossomed and in the summer, it's actually a beautiful purple. We'll include a photo. Right now, it's actually a little bit withered from the sun and dry and kind of looks like a dandelion from the top. These beautiful plants are totally edible, and they're a little bit more bitter than artichoke, but could be a delicious addition to a meal. Another food you might be super surprised to know about is the dandelion, the plant, the weed that grows all over the streets with the fuzzy flower, beautiful yellow blossom. Right now we're at the end of summer, so they're not fully blossomed. It's actually super nutritious, and the leaves and the flowers can be added to food. Here we have another example of the dandelion when it's really tiny. You can see it's a little bit fuzzy, right? Just like its other fuzzies that you see and people often make wishes with. But the whole plant, once it's grown, can be eaten, and it's super nutritious. Some other things I want to share. I'm by no means an expert. I'm learning about foraging and learning about foods that are edible around me. If you're interested in starting to eat the wild around you, make sure that you're checking and doing your research. Speak with a guardian. Make sure that you're all on the same page, and learn about the plants that are around you.
Hey guys, this is North here, your program counselor for week 1. Welcome to Kesem. I'm going to be doing a nature hike today. This is the broadcast for today, and first I'm going to show you what kind of stuff you need to bring on a nature hike, some safety stuff and some other things that I think are necessary. Also, side note, and very important side note, please before you go on any nature hikes, make sure you have parent or guardian permission before you do. I'm my own parent and guardian right now, so I've told myself that I'm going out, but I'll also be checking in with my roommate and telling him that I'm going out too. Let's get started with packing. Ready? Backpack with me, and I got myself 2 water bottles to stay hydrated, very important. I have 2 granola bars, just in case I get a little hungry, need a little extra energy. 2 flashlights, this is actually a flashlight, and a face mask. Now, these are all really important, but the most important thing that I have on this hike is, of course, and I can't travel anywhere without this, my crown. I'd be the king in the north without it. Alright guys, so this is what we have for the pack. I also have some first aid kits in here. You may know that if he doesn't see me back by 8 o'clock, which is around sunset, that he should let me know. We're heading out on our nature hike. We're going to the fire trails up on in the Berkeley Hills. I've got my backpack with all my stuff in it. I have my face mask for protection. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, so about this hike. We're gonna be collecting some leaves, so I can come back and we can preserve those, and I'll show you guys how to press leaves and keep them in an album if you want to do that at some point. I'll remember. Hey guys, so I am right now right outside the stadium, the California Memorial Stadium, and I'm going to be heading over to the Strawberry Canyon recreational area to get to the fire trails. This is also where Kesem plays its IM team games, so just some beautiful scenery here of the place where Team Carl won its one and only game last season. Let's go. We got ourselves, team captain was a butterfly, and that doesn't count as a pun though. And yeah, so you can see here, this is one of our first plants that we're gonna have to identify. You can see it has these really interesting berries. The ripe ones look like they're red, and the unripe ones look like they're about yellowish. They also look kind of spiky on the outside. And we'll get a good look at that leaf shape. It's rounded. It looks like it doesn't have teeth on the edges. So we're going to use that to identify this. We're also going to take a look at its bark, sort of see, you know, what does this tree look like. So based off of the leaves and like how they're round they are, how they're not toothed, and based off the fruit, which are kind of varying in color from like green to yellow to red, really dark red, this is probably a strawberry tree. It's native to the Mediterranean regions of Europe, which means they would feel right at home in the Mediterranean climate of California. And so theoretically this fruit is edible, but I would strongly discourage you from ever eating berries off a tree that you are not 100% sure about. So I'm not going to eat any of these berries, but it is just it seems like a very educated guess on what this tree is. Continuing on our journey, we came across a tree stump, and one of the things I really want to point out is the rings in the tree stump. These rings kind of correspond to about 1 year of a tree's life. And scientists can sometimes use this to see, you know, at what point was there a forest fire, because the rings will get disturbed by a forest fire, and just something really cool to point out. All right, continuing on. All right, let's get up and close and personal with our very first plant right before we begin our journey into the fire trails. That's the trail we'll be taking. A few things to remember. Number one, we will not be going off trail, and that's for a few main reasons, but some pretty good arguments are, number one, I don't want to end up crushing these plants or killing them or disturbing some of the wildlife that are here, and two, I don't want to get lost. So we're gonna stay on trail pretty much. We're just gonna be recording some of the plants we see around here as we go deeper and deeper into the forest. That's reference number one. All right, let's first start off with this plant though. Well, actually not the first plant. We talked about that tree earlier, but yeah, based on the purplish buds and the really spikiness of it, and also the kind of like thorns growing off the stem, mini thorns, I guess this is a New Mexico thistle. These can grow really tall, and they really bloom really well after above average rainfall. So yeah. Alrighty guys, now before we begin the trail in earnest, I'm gonna make sure that I have my big three things that I brought with me. So first up, water. Good, we got that. Second off, let's open her up. Let's see. All right. We have flashlight, so light number 2, and food number 3. All right, so the big three, just to make sure that we can get around and get back safely. Now, we're also gonna take a look at this next plant up here. So these are the leaves of this plant, and if you look very, very closely, you can see some of its fruit. Some of its fruit have also fallen on the ground and have attracted a lot of flies. And you can see that there's a giant pit in the middle of this. So we're gonna go ahead and identify this based on the fruit color, shape, and texture, as well as, which is very smooth texture by the way, as well as what we see up here in the different leaves and their shape. Yeah, the longer leaves and the kind of slight toothiness to them, as well as the fruit being sort of round, kind of makes me think this is a plum tree, based on the vibrant color of the fruit as well. And it could be a Chickasaw plum tree or flatwood plum tree, the difference being one of those fruits tastes really bad, the other one tastes really good. So again, another reason not to just eat any fruit you find. See some nice beautiful ferns here. Let's talk about those ferns. So the cool thing with ferns is that they are really, really like ancient in terms of like prehistoric times. Like ferns were like the favorite food of dinosaurs. So ferns are like the species, not each species of ferns, but a lot of ferns have been around for a super long time. And ferns are like predating a lot of seeding plants. They reproduce through spores, so they're not angiosperms or gymnosperms. A lot of the plants we've seen thus far that are seeds, they sort of just predate that, and they have a long history. See a beautiful little creek, little brook here. Some fallen trees, and it goes off ways. You can see how smooth the rocks are overall, just because they've had running water running over them. And we're gonna keep on heading this way and following the trail. It looks like we're going up a giant hill here. All right, we made it up the hill. We're gonna be heading further ahead really quickly. That's where we were, all the way down there. And now we're all the way up here. So, oop. I've caused a little mini avalanche. That's counselor name reference number 3. Alrighty, so we're back to this plant, and we can see that's what its fruit look like. They're can vary in color from a slightly more reddish or orangish color, yellowish almost. You can see their leaves. Let's look at their leaves, get a good look at that. Okay, they're more round. They seem to have forked edges and identify as maybe a sweet cherry tree, just based on like the heart shape of the fruit, how it's kind of hard and it's connected by a long stem to the branch, and the leaves are really spread out and toothed. I think this is a sweet cherry tree. These are not native to California. You can see a lot more of the fruit right there. Sunlight can be a super competitive thing because all these like flat leaves and all this like kind of foliage on top can really block out the sun. So sunlight can be really competitive and hard to get for plants, so they can do some pretty crazy things with that. We see kind of it looks like I got another branch to make it over. Good thing I got mad hops. That's reference number 4. We got our first leaf that we're going to go ahead and keep in order to preserve, and this comes from this tree. I did not pick it off. It was already on the ground, much like that one right there. So make sure that whenever you're doing this, you're not hurting the tree by picking off some of its healthy leaves. This one had already fallen off. All right, so it comes from this plant right here. Based on the unique leaf shape, some qualities of the bark. Yeah, this is probably a big leaf maple. These are noted by their big leaves. So yeah. And this is the tree that we were looking at earlier, and you can already see it's just incredible how that's where it starts, you know? And you can just follow along with how long and far its branches are extending in search of light and other nutrients. And wow, just look at that, starting all the way up there, a few branches that just go all the way up here. You can just see how massive these leaves are from this tree. And again, all the way, same tree, still connected, all the way. Again, one of the really cool things about nature, and you can see it actually has a second trunk extending out from here, extending all the way over there, and eventually back down. I'm gonna rejoin the main trail, and then going down, in my opinion, is often harder going up. Because as you can see, it's fairly steep all the way down. I have to be very careful. This is all very loose dirt. I could slide out under me. So I'm taking baby steps, being very cautious, very slow. And with each step, I'm making sure that I center my balance before I take the next one, like so. So one step, center balance, proceed with the right other foot. Another step, center balance, proceed with the next. You know, running down this hill is not going to be a very smart idea. So again, heading down this way. But before we go from this, it's a really nice little side street. Oh, we can see a beautiful bird down there. Absolutely beautiful bird. It is not a blue jay. At first glance, it might have seemed like one, but you can see it's got some beautiful colors. Let's see if we can get closer without startling it. It already seems a little bit aware and wary of the fact that I'm currently standing watching it with a crown on my head. Sorts of insects, very attracted to the sunlight. So it looks like we have here a little bee that's really run out of energy, running really low. He's flying really low to the ground. There he is, buzzing around, buzzing through the underbrush. Looks like he's just running out of gas to fly any higher. Important reminders: do not stray from the trail ever. That's for 2 reasons. One, you don't want to disturb any of the wildlife, and you don't want to destroy any plants that with your footsteps or anything. You also don't want to accidentally run into some more unfriendly plants like poison oak or poison ivy. Poison ivy, the rule of thumb here is leaves of 3, let them be. So if we ever see those, we're gonna stay away. See some beautiful conifers here. Conifers are marked by their much more needle-like leaves, if you will. They're not as flat as you would see in a deciduous tree. You can see how tall this tree goes. This is a redwood. You can see that redwoods grow very, very, very tall. The largest redwood is in Sequoia National Forest, but this is just a beautiful, beautiful redwood grove. We're gonna walk through, taking just a look at all beautiful, majestic scenery around us. Oh, 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. Well, a redwood, really. And I took the one less traveled by. Which one do you reckon? This one or this one? Why not both? We'll start with the one less traveled by. Alrighty. Majestic scene here. Wow. You can really grasp how many redwood trees there are around here. Let's see how tall they go. All the way up here. I'm ready to keep on going. Absolutely wonderful to behold. When you're in scenes of nature like this, I think those are birch trees, the one with the white wood. When you're in scenes of nature like these, it's just nice to take a minute, catch your breath, maybe drink some water, and just look around, kind of appreciate where you are and what that means, how quiet it is. I'm gonna be quiet now. So you can just hear the forest. I want to talk a little bit about, like the importance of exploring nature. There's a lot of beauty in nature. We can already see some here with this redwood grove. But if you ever get the chance to really go out there and travel, maybe consider visiting like a national park or a national forest and just going out for a walk and enjoying nature and finding kind of peace in nature and all the beauty there. So, yeah. Like someone built some sort of a make-do shelter. Some of the wood we see here. Very cute, leaning up against the trees. Sort of like a lean-to. Take a peek inside this. Nice cozy area. Put a sleeping bag down here. Just kidding, I repeat, do not just randomly sleep in the woods, kids. Terrible idea. You have no idea what else is out here with you. Brief water break. Make sure that you always stay hydrated when you're out walking about. Take a time to catch your breath. Maybe nice time to just look back on where you've come from all this way. We started somewhere way down yonder hill, and we are gonna keep on going. One thing that is a little fun to do would be to tell where and in what direction are we going. So I already told you guys that we started this trail in the afternoon, around 4 o'clock. It's about 6 o'clock now. So if the sun is in this direction, right? Let's go ahead and do some quick clock time telling here, all right? Sun's over here, which means the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So this must be the west. And over here must be the east. So this is west, east, red lighter. Then we must be heading south. And this is north. Or should I say, I am north. The view of the beautiful scenery that surrounds me here. Alright. Gonna keep on going here. I think one of the reasons why I like hiking so much is that you're just surrounded by all this green and all this kind of quiet for a really long time, and it's just you and your footsteps and the birds and the wind, and it's a really, really great place to be, and just, you know, turning around and seeing those views, and like this one right here, it's different. And the mixed forest, called a mixed deciduous forest. There's a lot more trees that have flatter, broader leaves, like so. And we're gonna take one of these leaves, again, always from the ground, to preserve. And what we were exploring earlier was almost like a purely deciduous forest. This one, it appears, still has a few conifers inside, like this one. So we term this sort of a mixed deciduous. It's as beautiful as a white lotus. That's another counselor name reference. I lost count. Maybe that's number 5. Some more beautiful wildflowers. I really hope you enjoyed. We kind of did explore, 3 kind of forest regions, woodland regions, deciduous at the very beginning with a lot more plant identification, some fruit trees, and we explored some coniferous forests with the redwoods and the redwood grove, and I think that was probably at least my highlight of the trip. I don't know what you guys think. And then we kind of walked a little bit through some sort of a mixed deciduous region, which is kind of what we see around us right now. Yes, I hope you enjoyed. Let's talk about some leaf growth. So now that we're back from our hike, we're going to go ahead and preserve these 2 leaves that we picked up earlier. And so what we're going to do is we have some newspaper here, and what I'm going to do is I need to just dry them out a little bit more. This one's already dead, so it's a little bit more dried out, but this one is still fairly green and probably needs to just dry out so it can be preserved, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close some. All the extra moisture is going to get absorbed. I've stacked a lot of books on top of the newspaper, so after a week or so I'm going to take them out and I can use them. I can mount them on my wall. I can use them for birthday cards or something, sort of as a gift. They're going to decay a lot slower because they've had the moisture pressed out of them for about a week, and all that extra moisture has been absorbed by the newspaper. So yeah, that's how you press leaves. They're really cool and really beautiful when they come out. Preserve them. These make for some good decorating if you want to mount them on something. They can be really nice, covers on a card, like a birthday card to someone. And yeah, so I really hope that you guys enjoyed this broadcast, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or any of your other counselors, and they can forward the questions to me, or if they know the answers, of course, they can answer them. So thanks once again for watching, and have a great day.